everybody, and welcome to another episode of the It's the Pictures podcast. I'm your host, Max Colville, and this is episode 181. I am joined today by my co-hostess with the mostest, Evan Crean. Hi, Evan.
Hey, Max. How's it going?
It's going quite well over here. A few days before Halloween, I think we kind of played out the Halloween schedule with our episodes on Horror for Weenies and John Carpenter, if you want to check those out. But we're going to instead pivot to talk about some local area film festivals this time around for our podcast.
Yeah, some different festivals. We've talked about the fall festivals, but we haven't really talked so much about these fall festivals.
Yes, these are extremely local to Boston. I hope that even though these festivals are happening in that area of Massachusetts within the next 2 or 3 weeks, that we can bring to your attention some of these films and you can put them on your radar, or if they've already been on your radar, maybe we can encourage you to check them out for yourselves.
Yeah, for sure. Max, what are you dressing up as for Halloween?
Oh, I've already debuted my outfit a few times, and that is the Australian breakdancer from the Olympics known as Ray Gun.
Very nice.
Yeah. It's gone over very well with people. I wore it to a party recently, and I didn't wear the wig. And then later that evening, I had a wig, and I was told, like, yeah, I had to wear the wig. Like that kind of made it. So
completes the look.
Yeah, I guess if I do wear it to go trick or treating with my child, come Thursday, maybe I'll be wearing the wig.
Nice. Very nice.
And yourself, do you have like a family themed Halloween costume idea?
Kind of, but kind of not really. We went to the zoo the other day, and it was like Halloween festivities, and we had a costume. Actually, it was a Purim costume that our daughter wore, where she was an astronaut. And when we did that, we said we were the proud parents of an astronaut. That was our costume. So we were kind of doing that, but also then we kind of dressed spooky. We were wearing like black, and we had these like spooky T-shirts that we were wearing. And my wife had gotten this like black bejeweled crown from Spirit Halloween that I was wearing. And it was like saying I was Goth King.
No, I love Halloween, Evan. It's just like I feel like for maybe the last 10 years I've really gone all out for the holiday, and lucky for me, my wife makes some great costumes for me. She's very committed to the role. This year, luckily, she didn't have to do too much besides for tailor my wig a little bit, make it shorter. But in years past, I've had some pretty elaborate costumes. So,
I know.
It's a great holiday for us. I was recently asked whether or not my child loves the holiday as much as we do, and I believe that she does. So
that's good.
Very, very happy about that.
Nice.
But before we get into our news of talking about some festivals that are going to be hitting the Boston area, we have some kind of light news this week. Better light than heavy, I guess.
That's true.
For recently, there's been some celebration of the original John Wick, and given that there's been 4 feature films, a TV adaptation, and another one spinoff that we've seen a trailer for. I guess there's another spinoff in the works with Donnie Yen's character Kane from the 4th one. This is a franchise that has, come to be one of the shining examples of, not necessarily originality, but just like stunt work in Hollywood, I'd say. And it's just really beloved at this point. At least the ones with Keanu Reeves involved.
Yeah,
it's amazing to see its story, because I think so. In celebration of its 10 years, some of the people behind it, I think like the directors, have been doing like random press interviews, and they go on to say like, oh, the movie didn't test well, and they thought it was going to be a bomb, and they were really nervous before they showed it to like South by Southwest, and like there it really made people excited and caught on. Um, and they went on to say like they had run out of budget for the movie, and that actor star Ava Longoria kind of footed the bill for the last like 6 million for
Wow.
as like an investor for the movie, and I think that was a pretty good investment at this point.
Yeah, I
So
would say so.
when you see those movies, I guess you see that she has like some kind of like executive producer credit or something, and now you know why. And um, no, there's plenty of neat stuff about those movies, and um, I guess like one of the big talking points for a lot of people, Evan. I know that people don't like to watch the first John Wick because what sets everything in motion is that John Wick's dog gets murdered,
Mhm.
and that's really
Yep.
tough for a lot of people. And they were like, I guess there was like a lot of studio heads that were like, you can't kill the dog. It's like people are gonna rebel against this movie. Um, but thankfully that wasn't the case. Uh, Most of the time, I think animal death, like in movies, is kind of cheap. I feel like a lot of horror movies kind of use that element of like, oh no, the dog is dead in the woods, and like this is
Mhm.
like something a sign that something creepy's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't personally care for that much. And yeah, I understand why some people don't want to watch the first John Wick for those reasons, and honestly, I don't really watch it that much. I've probably watched 2 and 3 a lot more, especially because I felt like 2 did a lot of really good world building that kind of opened up the John Wick universe in a way that was really fun, like learning about, the Continental and the High Table and the all there was all kinds of great stuff about 2 that 3 got to expand on, and I'm ashamed to say I still haven't seen the fourth one, but I do really like these movies. So that's this is really cool that Eva Longoria, made that first one happen, and it's a fun thing to be able to celebrate, 10 years later.
Yeah, it's amazing though that they have all these projects from this. Like you see other franchises, and to imagine that they have even 1 to 2 films done in the scope of 10 years. Never mind, a film franchise like this has had 4 films and counting, and television
Right.
series and what have you. So, and I'd say it's probably like one of the key titles now for Lionsgate, right? Because like outside
Yes.
of John Wick, you have to imagine like the Hunger Games is is something that keeps the lights on over there.
Mhm.
Um,
For sure.
yeah, John Wick, very successful franchise. In other news, there was a big teaser released, Evan, over the past week, and that was for the hit Apple TV Plus show Severance. This one is long anticipated because there was those dual strikes that made the wait
Mhm.
for Severance even longer than it had to be, and by the time it comes back, it will be almost 3 years since we saw the original, and uh, the trailer teases some stuff that happened at the end of the first season, and I was like, God, I forgot that even happened. Uh,
I didn't even know there was a teaser trailer that dropped. Now I feel like after we record, I must go watch this.
yeah, it's only like a minute long, but it got me
I'll take
hyped.
it.
It got me
I'll
hyped to
take the
watch it
minute.
again. Yeah, um, and no, and someone was like, "Oh, it's really a shame that that one in particular took 3 years to film another season," and I was like, "Well, it's not kind of in its own bubble, right?" Because I was looking at something like Stranger Things, and they argue that each one of the new episodes is going to be a movie in it of itself. So that's why they argue that it's been taking so long.
Mm.
But if that doesn't come back by next summer, then that will be over 3 years since that show aired as well.
That's nuts to think about.
Right? It's like, and like you look at the quote children now, and they're like over here getting married and having
Yeah, they're
families, and it's just like,
firmly in their 20s.
yeah,
Well, I'm certainly excited about another season of Severance.
Do-
I loved the show. Big fan of it. I think it ended on a pretty intense cliffhanger. So
Oh,
it's I feel like the wait has felt even longer because of that.
yeah, if you haven't seen Severance, we're not gonna spoil it here, and definitely don't watch the trailer before you watch the first season. It's absolutely worth watching. It's one of my favorite programs on the Apple TV Plus platform, and that's actually saying a lot because there's a lot of quality programming on there. I know for you,
Hmm.
Evan, you really like was it Shrieking or
Shrinking,
yeah,
yeah,
Shrinking, and that's just returned. Um,
yep.
do you also recommend that one to a lot of people?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any of the new season yet. I'm actually, it's funny because like I watch a lot of Apple TV shows, and so I haven't gotten to Shrinking yet. But I've been kind of like waiting till more episodes were available. But it's like I'm in the middle of watching in advance the new season of Silo right now. I'm several episodes deep. I watched the all of the Billy Crystal show before that's
Mm-hmm.
out. Um, or it's in the process of coming out, I
Yeah,
think.
I think it's just premiering.
Um, and yeah, I want to see the new season of Shrinking, and the new season of Bad Sisters, which I'm also very excited about. So I feel like there's gonna be plenty for me to watch on Apple TV before I get to it'll keep me busy the next several months to help kind of bide my time until the new Severance comes.
Yeah, my wife Shannon and I, we love Silo, so we're looking for the right moment to dig into that season 2 again because we were really impressed by the first season.
Cool. Well, look forward to talk to you about it.
But yeah, we for our feature this week, we are going to do some more highlighting of the um, IFF Boston Fall Focus Film Festival, which starts on October 31st and runs through November 3rd, I believe.
This
It
is
might,
the fourth.
yeah, it's the 4th. It's one day longer because on the 4th they're going to switch venues and they're going to move from the Brattle Theater, which is hosting all the other screenings, to the Somerville to show a special 70 millimeter screening of the new Brady Corbett film, The Brutalist. So I'm really excited for that. I have my ticket for that, but
Yeah, not surprised to hear that. I know you've been talking a lot about it the
yes.
last couple months.
So we're gonna start with that, and then Evan's gonna share some of the films showing at the Boston Jewish Film Festival, which highlights um, a lot of films that have Judaism at the center, or what is the
Yeah.
focus?
Yeah, it's films about Jewish characters and Jewish life, and made by Jewish filmmakers. So they kind of there's, I mean, we'll talk more about it in a few minutes, but yeah, it's a pretty sprawling festival in terms of like the number of movies and the types of movies and the types of Jewish experiences that they all chronicle. And this year is the 36th annual festival, so it's been going on for quite a bit of time.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess I'll lead the conversation on IFF Boston here, and I was pretty excited for when they were going to make their reveal of their films. For me, it's usually like a fill-in festival for something that I like, stuff that I didn't see if I was going to TIFF or another big festival, whether that be New York Film Festival. IFF Boston really gives people in this area an opportunity to see a lot of these films early, and I was not disappointed with their slate. I knew right away I wasn't gonna go on Halloween, so I was kind of like hopeful that something I really didn't want to see was on Halloween. I still want to see this film, Evan, and it's Night Bitch, which by director Mariel Heller and starring Amy Adams. And I know a lot of people were turned off by the trailer, and that the reviews out of TIFF weren't like, "Oh God, this is another like Oscar nomination for Amy Adams." But I don't know. I still I like Mariel Heller. I like her other movies, and I guess the last one she did was the Mr. Rogers movie, the feature film, not the documentary, because the documentary
Right.
is also excellent. And Of course, Amy Adams has done a lot of fantastic things. So that's one that, while I won't be seeing at the festival, I'm still eager to see. Uh, what else is cool? I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. I guess there's a Devo documentary on the
Mm.
band Devo, and I imagine that knowing that band, that it's probably not very straightforward documentary. It's probably a little weird.
I
Um,
wouldn't expect any less from Devo.
yeah. Um, and then really it's Saturday and Sunday where uh the heart of the festival lies, because they program stuff all day from noon until like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And on Saturday, November 2nd, they have some upcoming um, international films that I really want to see, like The Seed of the Sacred Fig from Neon, All We Can Imagine Is Light by Sideshow and Janus. That was one of those films that people were shocked that wasn't submitted to the Academy for Best International Film. So I guess Janus really has to work to put it in front of people, because otherwise it might get lost in the shuffle. But hope people get to check it out, including me. I'm Becoming a Guinea Fowl is a lower key A24 film. I'm still looking forward to seeing that. And Bird is the new Andrea Arnold movie. That one I wanted to see due to the actors involved. So pretty excited about that. Can you go into detail about Sunday, Evan, while I catch my breath?
Oh yeah, sure. Sunday they're gonna be showing Flow, um, Nickel Boys, Gaucho Gaucho, Hard Truths, A Real Pain. I personally am familiar with A Real Pain, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that at some point with Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin. And I know very little about some of the other movies, so
Yeah, I bought. I'll be there on Sunday. I bought tickets to Nickel Boys and Hard Truce, which is Hard Truce is a new Mike Leigh film, and now the last film lensed by the late cinematographer Dick Pope, who passed away recently. Um, then I guess Flow is a animated film, Evan. So if
oh
people
okay.
want to check, it's a uh, there's no spoken language in the film, so it's kind of like a 90-minute animated feature following a cat and other animals' adventures. Why the world is kind of being destroyed by rainfall.
Hmm. Okay.
I also saw A Real Pain because during Sundance it won an award, and you can rent award-winning films for the digital stream, and that one was getting a lot of buzz. So I was like, oh, I'll spend the $20 and watch it at home. It's a pretty neat film. I didn't really like Jesse Eisenberg's last feature film. He had another one of A24 that he directed that just I found was really obnoxious.
Hmm.
And I'm glad to say that A Real Pain isn't that. It's much better.
That's good.
But Kieran Culkin is really the reason to see it. I love him as an actor, and he definitely brings it in this. I
Not
forget.
surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I think the premise is they reconnect because they're like cousins, Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin in the movie, and they
Mm-hmm.
decide that they're gonna spend some time together and visit concentration camps, and go back to Germany and see all those famous areas that maybe their ancestors lived in. Um, so
Gotcha.
so it's not exactly a romping fun time, but it is a pretty interesting movie. And then, of course, like I mentioned, uh, Monday, November 4th, just at 6:30 p.m. will be the closing night film, The Brutalist by A24 and directed by Brady Colbert. There was a trailer released for the movie this last week, Evan, and I decided that I was going to see it so soon that I didn't want to watch the trailer. I normally watch trailers all day, but when I know that I'm going to see a movie a week later and I hadn't seen any of the advertising before then, I was like, I'll keep my eyes closed. Like I don't. And like people were like the soundtrack was really good. So what I did was I pressed play on the trailer on YouTube and I closed my eyes. I just listened. I just listened to the music on the trailer. I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. I'm like, I'm looking forward to seeing it, as I love movie soundtracks. I listen to them a lot at home when I'm writing, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing or hearing what that movie brings to the table.
Yeah, it sounds like it's gonna be really good. So anxious to hear what you think.
I feel like it's like a real like cinephile movie. Like people are getting really excited about it because they're like, oh, it's like this 3.5 hour epic that was made for $10 million, and we should all celebrate that. And it has an intermission, and it's 2024, and those are all reasons to be excited about it. And I don't know like if it will translate to like success for the movie monetarily, but I know a lot of people are going to be excited for that experience of this like big filmmaking. And you know, another movie premiered to critics recently, which was Gladiator 2. That's certainly another one of those big filmmaking movies, right? In a different sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that one has a very different budget. I was on a tangent. I was watching the recent Graham Norton show, Evan, and they had Paul Mescal and Denzel Washington promoting Gladiator 2, and Paul Mescal's on there. He's like, this is definitely the biggest movie I've ever been a part of. He's like, there's no question of it. He's like, it's a little frightening knowing like how much money is put into this movie and like how many extras are on the set for Gladiator 2. And I'm looking forward to that. I remember as like a kid, I guess like Gladiator 1 came out when it came out in 2000, so I was about like 14 years old. It's like for a 14-year-old, that movie was everything. I was like, here's a guy who's like killing tigers. And I was like, this is awesome. So yeah, I loved the original, even though it's just like kind of machismo, ridiculousness, and I'm looking forward to a sequel in that world.
It's funny that you say that, Max, because on Spoiler Piece this past week we covered this movie called The Line, which is about a fraternity, and one of the other guys the guy who's the head of the fraternity, the president, says to one of the younger guys like, oh, it's your job, you gotta hype everybody up. You know what I do? I just watch the speech from Gladiator and that gets me amped up and ready to like, hype all the frat guys up.
That makes sense. You know what's another good movie speech to hype people up? I love people. I know there's people like me who love this movie, Pacific Rim. I mean, Idris Elba has a speech in that. We're gonna cancel the apocalypse. I'm like, that does it for me. You know that.
It's a pretty hyped up speech.
Yeah, it's like if he was going for like what they were going for in Independence Day, he nailed it. You know.
Oh yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah, the president in Independence Day. That's a good speech.
Good stuff.
So Evan, to transition easier, the other day I saw a musical locally, and the musical was called Shucked. It's a comedy all about corn. It has a lot of sex jokes in it. It's very funny. But I was thinking to myself as I was leaving, I was like, there's not really a memorable song in this musical. And I'm like, you know what musical has really memorable songs? Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I when I was getting in my car and driving home, I was playing the intro, and then in my car I'm singing tradition, like. And then like when I got home, I shared with Shannon just the part of the end of the opening song where he's like, tradition's important or would be as unbalanced as a fiddler on the roof. I'm like, Shannon, he said the line. And she's like, that's great, Max. And No, I think that's a perfect transition into talking about the Boston Jewish Film Festival.
Yes, that's definitely a good transition. That's for sure. I mean, the Brutalist is a little bit of a transition too. As you're saying, that features a Jewish character in
Yeah,
the lead. But I like Fiddler on the Roof. That's a great musical, and there's a great documentary out there about it. That's definitely worth checking out at some point.
I think I saw
Um,
that one. But it's like specifically about the musical itself, right? Not like the movie.
no, they do talk about the movie as well,
Okay.
but yeah, it is more focused on the musical itself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. Anyway, yeah, the Boston Jewish Film Festival. As I mentioned briefly before, it's the 36th annual festival. And this year it's going to be running. They do for the last several years, since COVID. They've been doing an in theater portion and a virtual portion of the festival. So the in theater portion runs from November 6th through the 17th, and then the virtual portion runs from the 18th to the 20th of November. And the virtual portion's cool. You can, rent movies and watch them at home. There's like an app that you can download if you use something like, Roku or Apple TV, and rent the movies that way and watch them on your TV. So it's really cool. This year, some of the kind of high points, there's 8 fiction features, 6 feature documentaries, 8 short films, 9 films made by women, 7 films by LGBTQ, plus content, uh, hailing from 7 countries: France, Germany, Hungary, Israel, Poland, Spain, and USA, and 20 film premieres. So a lot of the films that are playing are making their premiere either globally or locally in Massachusetts, which is really cool. And to give a little background for me in terms of the festival, I've been covering the festival since I think 2016. Um, and I got into it because my wife is Jewish, and she wanted to introduce me more to what it means to be Jewish, and to just kind of like share that with me. So we started watching a lot of Jewish films together. And when the festival came around, we saw that as an opportunity to like watch films together and talk about them. And so it's just been kind of a nice tradition that I have of covering the festival, and we watch the movies together and we talk about them. And we've seen a lot of really amazing Jewish films over the years, and so also gives us an opportunity to recommend them to people who may not come across them otherwise. So that's
Yeah.
kind
So
of the background for me.
I mean, certainly, like, yeah, these aren't playing at the local AMC, I'm sure. But have you found while you're covering the festival, has there been like maybe you've seen the life of these films? Like, do some of them show up on streaming services that people could catch them, or are they
Yeah,
fighting for kind of distribution?
they're definitely fighting for distribution. I mean, there's films I've seen at the festival that it's sometimes 2 to 3 years before they get any type of either theatrical release or a release to a streaming service. I think some of that has helped a little bit in the last several years, by services like Highflix, which is a Jewish streaming platform which has Jewish films and TV shows. So that's been really good to give movies that have, very small movies that have played at this festival, an opportunity to get like an actual streaming release where people will see them. So that's been really cool. But yeah, to your point, Max, sometimes I see something and it's 2 to 3 years before other people finally get a chance to watch it. So you're really getting on the ground floor sometimes with some
Mm-hmm.
of these movies.
No, that's really cool. And I know, you know, people on the outside, people can look at films that's so digestible now because Netflix will release a new film every Friday, and uh, it seems like there's no shortage of films. But as someone who made even like a 5 minute short film, it takes a lot of work to put a film across the finish line. So
Mm-hmm.
the more people who can see the finished product and enjoy it, I'm sure the filmmakers and actors and everyone, or the arts and crafts people, everyone involved, um, are excited for their films to be watched and enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. And they try as much as possible to get guests, at the festival, the directors, actors, in person when they can. But often, since the writers and directors and cast are in other countries, they will do kind of like a Skype interview with them that they'll record, or they'll do kind of like a live stream Skype kind of interview that if, when they can, after the movie. So that's another way to kind of delve more into the stuff that's playing.
Films are even you'd argue that they're small. I remember a few years back, the Jewish film with Rachel Weisz and what is it, Rachel Adams, the two Rachels,
Yes.
came out, and that one was definitely even higher profile. Disobedience. That one was much more high profile than maybe some of the films here, but it
Mm-hmm.
had a very Jewish oriented a story. Um, do you remember in the past like films that have really broken out from this festival, or it's not really about that? It's about maybe finding a gem.
Yeah, I would say it's not super common that the stuff that plays here breaks out. Nothing is immediately coming to mind, but there are
Mm-hmm.
ones I feel like that do kind of gain notoriety or gain more of an audience once they kind of get out there more.
All
But
right.
yeah, what I think is great about this is uncovering these kind of hidden gems and these specific stories that are being told that it's really important to tell them. And more people should see them, but you get a chance to tap into that with the festival.
Well, what are some of the gems that our audience should be looking out for during the course of the festival, Evan?
Sure, I'll mention some of the movies that are the prominent ones that the festival is featuring, and a couple that I'm interested in seeing. So first is the opening night film. It's called The Performance. It's directed by Shira Piven, and I'll give you the plot summary. So, based on a short story by Arthur Miller, The Performance is set in 1937 as the fascist atmosphere in Germany is nearing its brutal pinnacle. Jeremy Piven and Robert Carlyle lead this tension-filled drama about a dance company that unwittingly gets booked to perform for the Fuhrer. Harold May Piven, Jeremy Piven, a blonde-haired American Jew and virtuoso but penniless tap dancer, tours Europe with his troupe. Their travels take a surprising turn when German attaché Damien Fugler, Robert Carlyle, offers an enticing sum for a single performance in Berlin. Upon arrival, the group is indulged in luxury, but their excitement deflates into a moral quandary when they discover their VIP audience is Adolf Hitler. Harold faces a heart-wrenching decision, torn between his art, success, and identity. So yeah, that's quite the opening number. So, I mean, this sounds like it's probably going to be balancing drama and comedy to a degree. At least, I suspect with someone like Jeremy Piven, who is known more for comedy than drama. Um, and I mean, I think there's one thing that I've learned in watching a lot of Jewish films is that there is an underlying sense of humor. Despite how dark the Holocaust is, that there are still ways to find humor and catharsis, and so I'm sure that this movie, based on the plot summary, will probably tap into that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, definitely an interesting opening night film,
Mm.
and I'm sure there's some steam behind it having Jeremy Piven and Robert Carlyle in it, which is a little more famous than some of the other actors featured. A lot of these are more independent films, as we've talked about, so maybe
Yeah,
not as a list of a cast.
yeah, Evan. Like I was looking through some of the list of films that you shared with me, and me too. I was looking for names that I knew, um, to know maybe something that I'd want to somehow check out. And one of the ones that came across for me with the names at least was this movie called like Avenue of the Giants, I think,
Mm.
and it had like Elsie Fisher from eighth grade, and let's see who else. I think it was Stephen Lang from what should we call it, the Avatar movies. I think he plays
Oh
the
yeah.
villain.
Mm.
So it says, for more than 50 years, Auschwitz survivor Herbert Heller, played by Stephen Lang, has kept his miraculous escape from the death march a secret, even from his own family. That is until he meets Abby, Elsie Fisher, a young teenager who has her own brush with pain and death and inspires Herbert to open up. The two exchange their stories, and an unlikely friendship is born. Through sharing personal traumas, Herbert and Abby become allies and healing with a bond that gives them a renewed sense of purpose, based on a true story.
Hmm.
So yeah, this one I guess was the winner of the jury prize at the Miami Jewish Film Festival 2023.
Cool. I mean, I like Stephen Lang. I like Elsie Fisher. This definitely sounds interesting to me.
Yeah. What else was there, Evan?
Yeah, sure. I can talk about the Midfest film, which I think
Yeah, talk
sounded
about
interesting
that, and
to
then
me.
you told me that you watched some of the shorts, and maybe after this you can share your reflection on some of those.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. So, well, there's the Midfest film, which is called Yaniv, and that's kind of like it's a comedy. And the summary is when their high school drama department falls victim to budget cuts, and with their spring musical in jeopardy, two teachers from the Bronx find an unlikely solution to their money problems. Yaniv, a little-known card game with a thriving underground gambling scene in the Hasidic community. Two friends have no choice but to bet the house to save the show, embedding themselves with their ultra-orthodox hosts in the process. This riotous comedy takes us to the unique world of Yaniv and the wild assortment of characters that populate it. So this is one of the other things that I really like about the Jewish Film Festival is there are, there's a healthy dose of comedy. Like, I think, it's not just about the kind of like heavier aspects of the Jewish experience of, the Holocaust and other, pogroms and things that, the Jewish people have survived. There's, kind of zany comedies like this out there. Like another one that's playing is called Bad Shabbos, which is
Yeah, that one looked interesting to me.
yeah, it's a single night in New York on Shabbos and Shabbat, the Sabbath, for those uninitiated. It's about an interfaith couple that have their parents meet for the first time, and an accidental death gets in the way, and that's got a great ensemble with Kira Sedgwick, Method Man, David Paymer, Milana Weintraub. So that sounds like it's going to be zany and fun as well. And so yeah, I like that there's a good mix of films, both drama, comedy, documentary, fiction.
Yeah,
So those are the kind of things.
yeah, when
that
you're
I really
going to
like.
the Boston Jewish Film Festival, do not expect just 10 hours of the zone of interest.
Yes, which may have played there. I can't remember offhand, but yeah, it's not all heavy stuff. But I do think that a lot of it is very contemplative and reflective, um, which I think you really get in the shorts. That's one of my favorite parts of the festival every year. It's my wife really loves shorts, and so we always prioritize watching them, and they can be really fascinating because, with a short film you have a very limited amount of time to tell a story. And so to varying degrees, you could be very successful with saying a lot with a little. And that's, we love watching shorts for that reason, because there's often a lot to dig into in these. And yeah, I would say this year, continued that trend. We caught up with all but one of them. We weren't able to get a screener for How to Make Challah, which I think actually at the festival is paired with a challah making class or something like that. But yeah, we watched the other shorts, and yeah, I think probably the one that stands out the most to me in terms of feeling very poignant and very relevant for the moment is one called "Kiss My Ass," which is a great title. And I'll give you the quick one sentence that the festival has on it. Anna gets her first abortion, accompanied by the ghost of her quirky Ukrainian great grandmother. So yeah, it's a film. It's a short about a woman who is going to get an abortion, and she sees her great grandmother as a ghost. And it's about her interacting with her great grandmother through this experience and receiving, the moral support from her great grandmother's ghost going through this experience. And it's really, really poignant. It gets a smidge soapboxy, but when it, talking very pointedly about how, men who are in power try to keep power by preventing women from accessing birth control and abortion. And then obviously in a post, a world where Roe v. Wade has been overturned, it's even more poignant and relevant to talk about. To say like, hey, like women, you, you know, need access to birth control, to abortion, to just survive, and also to like be able to make informed decisions and to live their lives. And so this movie really speaks to that, but it also has this very kind of sweet side to it about how her great grandmother's ghost anyway is supportive of her and wants her to have all of the opportunities that she couldn't have and to be able to make the decisions that she couldn't. And it's really amazing. And it's 15 minutes, so there's a lot packed in there in that 15 minutes. It's all
Yeah,
very poignant.
yeah. If you maybe some of our audience, I imagine that not a lot of people have seen shorts packages in their lives. Like I think to even me, who's kind of tuned into like the film festival experience, and I have seen shorts packages, whether or not it's at the Rhode Island International Film Festival, which is like the whole program is watching shorts packages, or even the IFF Boston for their uh, spring festival, their big one. They normally have shorts packages as well. And if you've never seen a, a shorts package like that, they normally program like enough for like a feature film length, like either like 90 minutes or 2 hours. And you just sit there and like you take in all these different stories, and it's a really fascinating thought process because when you watch a feature film, you're following one story from beginning to end for that whole 2 hours for the most part. I mean, unless it's a kind of uh,
Anthology.
yeah, anthology film. So, but when you're watching a shorts package, you're like every 10 to 15 minutes you're introduced to like these new people, this new situation. You got to pay attention and be able to roll with it. And even if you don't like one of them, you know what, guess what, in 10 more minutes there's going to be another one. So um Evan might have found Kiss My Ass to be his favorite out of the shorts packages here, but luckily there's probably enough there that you might find something else different that you loved. And it's nice to be able to take in wide berth. Now, Evan, do they like categorize the shorts at this festival based on like comedy or drama, or are they just like all in one package?
Yeah, they have one package. They call
Mm-hmm.
it their Fresh Flicks short film competition. It's actually in its 14th year. So the 8 shorts that are playing are all part of this one. Some years they have a lot more shorts and they'll have different shorts packages, but this
Mm-hmm.
year they just have the Fresh Flicks competition. The festival is also has another festival that it runs, Boston Jewish Film, the larger organization, called the Real Abilities Film Festival, which is all films about people with disabilities. And sometimes they'll have like a block of shorts that kind of tie into that. Like I remember seeing a short, or I think it was a short about uh autistic couple that were dating. So yeah, so in some years there's more shorts than others, and this year they just are in the Fresh Flicks competition.
All right, cool. Was there, before I ask you again to repeat when the festival is occurring and when people can access the virtual portion, was there anything else you want to add about your experiences with the Boston Jewish Film Festival, or um, just your general feelings about it?
I mean, I really like covering the festival and love getting a chance to do it every year. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more movies from the festival. Beyond the shorts, usually start with the shorts and move on to some other stuff. There's definitely other, movies that I'm interested in seeing, and usually the list is quite long, as it is this year. There's several I didn't mention, but I'm looking forward to digging into those and watching those over the next couple of weeks. So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
is there like streaming access robust? I mean, are a lot of the films available there, or like some of them are gated? I imagine, right?
Yeah, there's certain movies that they can only show in person, I think,
Mm-hmm.
due to some distribution red tape.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a movie that I really want to see called Sabbath Queen that I've heard a lot about, which is about a guy who's torn between his ancestral destiny to be a rabbi and his desire to be a drag queen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's only an in-person screening. But they try to, do a good collection of movies to be able to stream during that virtual part of the festival later on.
And that is that easy for anyone to access? Is it like, or is it geo locked, or is it like?
Yes, they'll tell you. So if you
Okay.
go to Boston Jewish Film, I think. Hold on, just make sure I get their website right.
No, that's cool. No, I want to make sure that if we're telling people about this great festival, that not only will people who are in the area get to enjoy it, but yeah, even if you're outside of our little nest up here in the Northeast, maybe you could rent some of these great films. I mean, that's how I watched A Real Pain from Sundance. So
Yeah, so bostonjfilm.org. You can go there, and then there's the Jewish Film Festival. That's one of the sections on the website. Yeah, you can look up these movies, and then in the details they'll tell you whether it is geo locked to a specific location when you're getting a ticket. But yeah, basically I've done it before. You can buy a ticket and you get like a code basically to watch the movie, and then you can go into their app. I believe on they have it on Roku and Apple TV. It's just the Boston Jewish Film app, and then you just punch in the code, and then you can watch the movie.
all right, cool. I mean, that is definitely an opportunity for people who, aren't around here and want to try out some of these really, um, I'm sure, fascinating and unique films.
Yep. Yeah. So you can the in person portion is from November 6th through the 17th. The virtual portion is November 18th to the 20th. So yeah, I recommend checking out the festival, and because it's a Boston festival, there's definitely some bigger titles that you wouldn't necessarily get at some of the other regional Jewish film festivals that I've heard of. So yeah, lots of good stuff.
All right, thank you, Evan, and yeah, I hope you, our audience, if you're around New England or in the Massachusetts area, that you try out one of these two film festivals that they're happening over the next 3 weeks, and uh, there's a lot of great film festivals that play in Boston all year round. We didn't, I don't think we mentioned the Boston Underground Film Festival that normally happens in the springtime, and that's focused on like science fiction horror type movies, and
Mm-hmm.
the big Boston IFF Film Festival that takes place over like the course of 7 days in spring, and that brings to town movies from Sundance and South by Southwest. So definitely look out on the calendar for Boston area film festivals if you're interested. They're mostly at our independent theaters, whether they be the Somerville Theater, the Coolidge Corner Theater, or the Brattle Theater. And just think that not only are you going to some great theaters and supporting some excellent movies, but having a terrific film experience as well. But before we get into what we've been watching, I'm gonna explain where you can find us if you want to. And I assume that you want to find us. Um, if you want to find the podcast, it's on Twitter X that it's the Pick Pod. If you want to find us on Blue Sky, we're there as well. I think it's the pickpod.bsky.com. let's see, where else can, or beastguys.social, I think that's how they do their tags.
Yeah, we're on Threads and Instagram, right? It's the pictures.
Yep, it's the pictures is now on Threads. I've added the account there, and Instagram, because Evan, I've been doing boosting some of the Instagram posts and um, using some of those marketing dollars so that we get in front of more we get in front of more people. And if you are coming to the podcast from those Instagram posts, welcome. Then if you where we have a small presence on Letterboxd, same thing. It's the pictures, and we have us. Before I get to the newsletter, I'm available at MH Colville on Twitter X and Blue Sky. You can find me also on Letterboxd. Evan, where can they find you?
Let's see. So I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, Blue Sky. All those as Real Recon. That's real as in film reel. And then you can also catch me every week over at Spoiler Piece Theater, a weekly film podcast, which is you get anywhere you get podcasts.
All right, awesome. And on the Substack newsletter that is, let's say, the sister to this podcast, I've recently featured interviews with movie trailer creators and movie poster creators. So if you want to know the details of what goes into those processes, both vital parts of the movie marketing machine, and you can learn. I talked to an artist who makes fan posters, and it was funny. I didn't even know that their poster that was on Letterboxd for a long time for Priscilla was a fan poster. I thought like that was the actual A24 poster. So it's pretty neat to talk to them, and again to share that other interview with the movie trailer provider, and how he shared an anecdote that he was friendly with the people who were cutting the Wolf of Wall Street trailer, and they had cut multiple different versions of it, and then the Kanye West track that ends up being in the trailer. And it's a shame that we have to mention Kanye West on an episode that we're featuring the Boston Film Festival, the Jewish Film Festival. But yeah, it's just a fantastic piece of art and entertainment combined. It's a great trailer, and yeah, I thought they were pretty interesting. They went over well with my audience, Evan. A lot of people checked them out.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, there's lots of good stuff over on the newsletter, folks. So definitely make sure you subscribe.
All right, and now we're on to what we've been watching. Evan, what have you been watching?
Oh, a ton. But most recently I saw Carrie for the first time, the 1976 Carrie. So that was a trip.
You hadn't seen it before.
Nope, first time watch. And yeah, I was all about it. I mean, I've been a big Brian De Palma fan for a while, so not surprised that I enjoyed it. And I read the book way back in college, so it's been a very long time since. And it's just been on my list for a while, and I wanted to see it, and so I did. And did not regret that decision. It was really good. I was impressed by De Palma's editing, his pacing of the movie. It felt very brisk, but it didn't feel like it was skimping on details. Great camera work and cinematography, and great performances all around. Sissy Spacek as Carrie, and Amy Irving as Sue, and John Travolta, and Nancy Allen, PJ Souls, like quite a cast of characters, and was just a big fan of Carrie.
The pig's blood was very good, right?
Oh god, that was a brutal scene. Murdering of the pigs.
Yeah.
It's yeah, that was ugh.
No, and I've heard like there's been different I guess there was a remake of Carrie, right? Of Grace Mortez, I think, like Chloe Grace Martez. Recently.
Chloe Grace Moretz, yeah.
Yeah, and then like Julianne Moore was the mother. And like supposedly like they were supposed to be like, oh, this is how Carrie's supposed to be, because the budget, I guess, for this, or like they just couldn't recapture like I guess Carrie goes into town and destroys the town, and they were like, we're not gonna go. That's gonna cost us a lot of money to do that. So I don't
Mm.
know if the remake does it, but
Yeah, I haven't seen the remake, but I know my wife has, and she said it was bad.
um no, I guess the word is enjoy. I enjoy Carrie, even though it's definitely um it's a tough watch to see what she has to go through.
Yeah, it's absolutely brutal, and I think De Palma really captures the horror of what happens to her. You know, when she has the blood dumped on her at the prom, and in terms of like kind of dragging out the scene of like Amy Irving discovering the pig's blood about to be dumped, and there's just a kind of like look of horror on Carrie's face, and the way that like everyone is kind of just frozen in the in the room, not really sure what to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's a well-made movie, and there's a reason why it's usually held at the top tier of Stephen King adaptations, theatrically, and still holds up as one of Brian De Palma's favorites for a lot of people who um, only know his work, commercially. I mean, like, De Palma is this guy who has lots and lots of films, and like certainly he's had his misses. I think I just watched Body Double, which for the first time, which was something that didn't go over all that well when it came out, but people like it more so
Did you
now.
like it?
Yeah, I liked it more, and I liked it myself, and like I thought Melanie Griffith was awesome in it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Body Double, but I remember liking it. I think the last thing about Carrie that I wanted to mention, because you're making me think of it with Body Double, is I mean, I think De Palma's always admitted how much he was inspired by Hitchcock, but it was just so funny seeing Carrie and feeling like there was literally just naked homage to Hitchcock with the psycho music as
Mm.
part of the themes in in Carrie in the movie.
Yeah, right. I'm glad you mentioned Hitchcock, because obviously the Body Double uses a lot of Hitchcock as well,
Mm-hmm.
specifically Vertigo.
Yep.
Um, okay, and what else have you been watching?
Oh, I gotta mention that I've been watching Agatha all along on Disney Plus
Do you like
because I'm.
that? I have the only one I've ever watched was the WandaVision, and the other ones I've done like one episode taste test of a lot of them, and didn't really
Mhm.
gel with them, but like I like Catherine Hahn, so I'm like
Yes.
maybe I'd watch this.
I definitely think it's worth watching if you liked WandaVision. I think WandaVision was probably one of the standout shows. I've watched a few of the Marvel shows, and I've found them enjoyable. Like I watch Hawkeye, I watch Echo. I've seen a good number of them, but this one I'm enjoying a lot more than some of the other ones. And I think if you were someone who watched WandaVision and then was like extremely disappointed by what happened to Wanda and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and how they kind of took the character, it's kind of nice to get back into the world of witches and feel like it's satisfying again because this has like a really great cast of characters. I think it's really well done. It's clever. It's funny. It's fun. I mean, I can't. I don't want to say much to spoil anything, but I think I've just been really enjoying it. And within a weekend, got caught up on it, and then watched the most recent episode, and I'm eagerly awaiting the next one. So
Now,
it's
Aubrey Plaza's on this too, right?
yes. She's in it. She plays probably I would say one of the more minor characters, so
Mm-hmm.
she's not in it as much. But she's great in it. Catherine Hahn is great. I like Joe Locke. He's one of the main characters in it as well. And also funny enough that we're talking about it on our Jewish film festival episode too, because there is a Jewish connection in one of the episodes. So and that was really cool and really well done.
All right, awesome.
What have you been watching, Max?
For me, I had an opportunity to take the Substance.
Ooh, the
Uh,
Substance. I've been hearing a lot about this one.
yeah, so this one is actually debuting on Mubi's streaming service on Halloween. So if you haven't had an opportunity to catch it in theaters yet, that is a right prime time to subscribe to Mubi and not only watch that, but catch the recent 4K restoration of The Fall. So
Yep. I tend to do that.
a great reason to subscribe to Mubi right now. But yeah, The Substance. For people who haven't heard too much about it, Demi Moore is a aging fitness instructor, and I guess fitness instructors are the hottest thing on planet Earth in the world of The Substance. And she's been told that she's too old and that she needs to be replaced. And she hears of this thing called The Substance, where, she can feel fresh and bright and new again. And, it's not so easy as taking a shot and feeling rejuvenated. But it's more like you take a shot and you have a younger version of yourself kind of like born out of your body.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's definitely a body horror film through and through. Margaret Qualley plays like the younger version of Demi Moore's character, and so there's a whole bunch of different catches to like how and rules of this universe, really. So like Demi Moore's character's body kind of like sleeps for 7 days, and then 7 days those 7 days Margaret Qualley kind of lives her life, and then they switch back, and they every 7 days, and like they have to like keep up this switching back and forth. Obviously that's going to become a problem.
Right.
But
yeah.
It like it's funny, Evan, like it goes like absolutely crazy in like the last half an hour, like totally bonkers, ridiculous, funny, crazy. I mean, like I've heard, not that I put any stock in the Golden Globes at all, but I think they've recently said that The Substance would be like comedy musical.
Oh, okay. Well, that certainly sounds interesting.
Yeah. So, it is a totally bizarre and like darkly funny film, that is also really, really icky. Yeah, I mean, like, be prepared for some good body horror and some really interesting performances. And I guess my biggest argument against the film is that like it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It feels kind of long in the tooth, if you will.
Yeah. Sounds like it a little bit.
And like I guess it like helps make it feel like more epic and more lived in. And certainly I've seen my fair share of online of like Substance themed Halloween costumes, whether they're wearing like Margaret Qualley's outfit from like her fitness videos, or they're wearing this big yellow jacket that is worn by Demi Moore in the film. But yeah, it's definitely an experience, and I can see why people kind of latched onto it and wanted to see it. And I don't think it's as like black and white as like I've seen like some people like, oh, I absolutely hate it and it was boring and too long, and like it's too interesting to feel that way about it. Like this is certainly a vision from the director, like that they like the set design and like the certain imagery that like is thrown at you is just like everything feels very thought out. So despite its length and maybe some questionable thoughts of logic, because people are like, oh well, the plot doesn't make entire sense, but like just go with it. It's it's a fun movie. And then like Evan, just to wrap it up, because like we're getting to the end here. I did watch another movie that's long been on my radar, and the only reason why I watched it was because I was looking for like a movie to put on in the house while my daughter and wife were around, and like and like that wasn't gonna be like too violent on the screen, so like I looked for a family movie, and I was like, it's time to watch Field of Dreams.
Oh,
I had never seen Field of Dreams before.
really?
This is a Kevin Costner baseball movie. If you build it, he will come. And I was like, yeah, because like I've been hearing a lot about it because the late James Earl Jones has a supporting role in it.
What'd you think?
I'm not as sentimental about its baseballness as it is.
Yeah, it's pretty corny.
It takes place in a cornfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely loves baseball through and through, and like Ray Liotta plays like the ghost of like a dead baseball player that Kevin Costner loved as a child. And I guess like the like darkest part of the movie comes when like Kevin Costner goes and meets James Earl Jones for the first time, and James Earl Jones is like an author who very much does not want to be bothered anymore. And Kevin Costner's like, "Hey, I heard some visions, some like voices in my head that said I had to find you and take you to a Red Sox game. Will you get in the car with me?"
Yeah, it's a little weird.
And James Earl Jones is like, "Hell no." No, I mean it's heartwarming, and like supposedly like a lot of people feel real sentimental about the finale of the movie, and I don't necessarily believe that I do. It's certainly I think my favorite baseball movie is actually Kevin Costner's Bull Durham. Like that one, like I like that one more for like the love of baseball than this one. But I'm also a guy that didn't grow up with The Sandlot, so take my baseball movie like joy at face value, I guess.
Oh, you didn't watch it when we were kids?
No, I didn't really. Like, I caught up with it later, and I was just like, oh yeah, Sandlot's kind of cute. And like, I was like, I had people looking at me like, what? This is like a touchstone of our youth. And like,
Yeah. But I could see though if you just saw that as an adult that it wouldn't have the same impact as if you were like me and had it on VHS and watched it a million times.
right, like, and like people would tell me like my wife felt the same way about like the Goonies. You know, like that was not a movie that like I burned out on VHS tape. It was very much like a movie that I saw on in the background and didn't really watch from beginning to end until like I was already 23 years old. So I was like, yeah, the Goonies is fun, but I don't have that kind of same reaction or love to it that maybe some people do. And maybe that's how I feel about Field of Dreams in a way.
That's fair.
I did appreciate that they went to Fenway though, because I was like, Fenway, I love Fenway.
Yeah, I mean Fenway is great. So there's always that.
Yeah, I watched it. I was like, oh, Shannon, don't you know how lucky we are that we get to go one of the great American ballparks? She's like, yeah, Max, great.
I can picture Shannon saying that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, did you know Yankee Stadium? That's not the original stadium. They knocked it down and built a new one. And like the only really like iconic stadiums are like Wrigley Field and like Fenway Park, and we're so close. And she's like, yeah, I don't care.
She's like, that's great. I'm not buying your Red Sox tickets.
No, I actually don't want to see the Red Sox. They stink right now. I want to see the Celtics, Evan. That's where it's at because like they're world champions. They just won a title, and they're very good again this year. So Celtics is where it's at right now for Boston fans. But anyways, that's gonna wrap up our episode today of It's the Pitchers, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another great episode. Evan, thanks again for joining me and sharing about the Boston Jewish Film Festival.
Yeah, no problem. I'm always glad to be here, and always happy to tell more people about the festival.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll talk soon. Bye.